It's April 2026. A fragile ceasefire in the Middle East is barely holding off a return to the violence of the initial 40-day war. Instead of traditional combat, the U.S. has pivoted to what the Treasury Secretary calls Operation Economic Fury. The strategy is to squeeze Tehran into submission by patrolling ports and seizing $500 million in cryptocurrency assets to cut off proxy funding. This chart shows the blockade's collateral damage. Brent crude prices spike, squeezing consumers, while the Indian rupee plunges, straining Asian importers. The energy shock is fracturing the pre-war order. To escape the cartel's volatility, the United Arab Emirates has pulled out of OPEC. But despite these aggressive economic measures, the naval blockade hasn't broken the Iranian state. Maritime data reveals Tehran is utilizing AI and automatic signal spoofing to disguise its oil tankers as Iraqi or Omani vessels. They've built a resilient dark fleet to slip crude right past U.S. Navy patrols. This leaves the global economy teetering on the edge of stagflation, where high energy costs collide with stagnant economic growth. The U.S. is running out of time to rely on sanctions alone before global markets start to buckle. Domestically, the clock has run out. The conflict has officially crossed the 60-day limit set by the War Powers Resolution of 1973. Without explicit congressional authorization for continued action, the executive branch is pushing into a volatile constitutional gray area. Lawmakers are demanding answers. During a Capitol Hill grilling, Representative Adam Smith pointed out that weeks of strikes haven't degraded Iran's nuclear posture. Meanwhile, international diplomatic alliances are fraying right alongside the administration's domestic support. Fearing a massive regional war, the United Kingdom and Germany are refusing to join the U.S. maritime blockade. Instead, they're building an independent 40-nation coalition in London to reopen the Strait of Hormuz strictly through political pressure. With domestic legal authority expiring and key European allies organizing their own separate diplomatic tracks, the Trump administration finds itself cornered. They need a fast, decisive military option to force Tehran back to the negotiating table. On April 30, CENTCOM leadership arrived at the White House to present the president with exactly that. Their proposed operational framework is categorized internally as a short and powerful wave of strikes. The tactical logic relies entirely on compression. A multi-year ground invasion carries immense strategic risks and political fallout. Instead, the military wants to launch high-intensity, precision attacks that hit the functional organs of the Iranian state all at once, minimizing U.S. exposure to counterattacks. The primary targets are dual-use facilities, including uranium enrichment sites and IRGC command hubs. The most debated targets are oil and gas processing centers. Hitting refineries and pipelines would halt crude exports, finalizing the state's economic strangulation. The math here is brutal. By simultaneously destroying the assets that keep both the military running and the economy breathing, the U.S. hopes to force the Iranian leadership to choose between national collapse and immediate capitulation on the nuclear issue. To execute this, CENTCOM is requesting authorization to deploy a weapon that has never seen active combat, the Army's Dark Eagle long-range hypersonic weapon. This diagram compares current precision systems to realities on the ground. Iran moved its launchers deep into hardened mountain terrain that existing tactical systems cannot reach. Traveling over Mach 5, the Dark Eagle closes that gap, eliminating those facilities instantly. Firing the Dark Eagle serves a dual purpose. It neutralizes Iran's immediate retaliatory threat, while acting as a public demonstration to Russia and China that the U.S. will utilize next-generation hypersonic capabilities in active combat. But the adversary has also adapted. Following the reported death of the supreme leader, a highly aggressive military order has taken over, placing hardline IRGC commanders like Major General Ahmed Vahidi in absolute control. Their strategy is built on total asymmetric deterrence. The IRGC threatened that if infrastructure strikes occur, they will unleash a Middle East destruction scenario, mining the Strait of Hormuz and launching drone strikes against allied energy facilities across the Persian Gulf. Simultaneously, the administration is facing intense legal scrutiny. Former International Criminal Court prosecutors are categorizing the planned targeting of civilian-adjacent infrastructure, like power grids and water desalination plants, as crimes of aggression and potential war crimes. The United States is increasingly isolated on the world stage. They are gambling that concentrated kinetic pressure will break Tehran's resolve before asymmetric warfare sets the entire region on fire. That is the equation currently sitting on the president's desk. On one side, the potential reward of decapitating Iran's military and economic infrastructure in a matter of days. On the other, the risk of sparking a region-wide apocalyptic war. An authorization of the short and powerful wave moves the conflict past the nuclear standoff. It serves as the combat debut of hypersonic technology and the ultimate test of whether high-intensity infrastructure strikes can force a settlement without triggering a regional collapse.